From a young age, we are told that life will offer us choices, that the paths we walk are built by our own hands, discovered through our decisions, explored through our dreams, but sometimes the path does not wait to be found by us. Sometimes it finds us instead, long before we even understand what it means to take a first step on it. That is the nature of legacy and of duty. They are not simply options laid before us. They are threads woven into the fabric of who we are, and gently, or sometimes firmly, they guide us toward a place of purpose. When I reflect on the idea of legacy, I do not see a grand monument or a name etched in time. Legacy, to me, is much more personal. It is a quiet commitment passed gently from one generation to the next. It is the lessons whispered by history, the values lived by our parents and grandparents, the meaning of a promise kept not for applause but for truth. Growing up, I have been surrounded not only by the beauty of my homeland, its mountains, its cities, its language and symbols, but also by a living current of service, of dedication, not demanded but given, not imposed but felt. And as I grew older, I began to see that it was no accident that this responsibility had found its way into my life. It had been waiting there all along, just as it waited for those who came before me. Duty, though often perceived as heavy, has its own grace. It is not a weight meant to crush, but a compass that orients the heart. It reminds us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. Simply being born into a certain role does not mean the role itself defines the person. Instead, it gives the person a chance to define what the role will mean during their time. And so, duty becomes a partnership between the one who carries it and the people it is meant to serve. I have learned that duty is not measured by grand gestures, but by constancy, by presence, by the willingness to listen, to learn, to strive always toward a deeper understanding of the people we stand with. There is a unique kind of calling that arises when legacy and duty intertwine. It is not merely about fulfilling expectations, but about embodying the values that make those expectations meaningful. The path may seem set, yes, but how one chooses to walk it, that choice is always real. And in walking it, I find that it shapes me just as much as I am meant to give shape to it. Each day, each gesture, each lesson becomes a part of that shared legacy. Serving from a sense of duty does not diminish the individual. If anything, it anchors a person more firmly in the world, reminding them that their voice, their presence, their intentions matter, not only because of who they are, but because of what they have committed themselves to uphold. I feel this especially when I look at the youth of our country, when I see children at school, or at cultural gatherings, or when I join conversations with young people just beginning to imagine their own futures. They remind me constantly that legacy is not something to preserve like a relic in a glass case. It is to be lived, interpreted, renewed. It is a dialogue between past and future, sparked in the present. And those who bear it must never close themselves to growth or change. We must instead strive to connect with all generations, to listen to the stories that shaped us and honor the voices that rise now, asking new questions, dreaming with new courage. In truth, it is not always easy to understand the full shape of one's path when traveling through it. I cannot claim to have all the wisdom I need. I am still learning, still evolving each day. But I do know this. I am deeply aware of the trust placed in me. I am aware of the long line of lives and moments that have led to this point, the sacrifices silently made, the examples quietly set, and I know that honoring such a legacy is not accomplished alone. It is shared among family, among citizens, among all who believe that our heritage is a beacon, not a burden. When duty calls, it is not only in moments of ceremony or public life, but in quiet moments no one records. It is in the act of paying attention, in the practice of respect, in the choice to stay rooted in dignity even when the world will try to sway or divide. It is in learning languages, in understanding traditions, in showing up even when the task is unseen or uncelebrated. It is not glamorous, but it is real, and from that reality comes a very deep and lasting connection to others. I often feel that in accepting this role, I am asked to be both student and steward, a student of history, culture, of the many lives that have shaped this nation, and a steward of its future, entrusted with carrying forward its values not only with formality, but with soul. And this is a calling I welcome, not because it was expected of me, but because it has given me a purpose that transcends me. When the path finds you, it is not because you are above others, but because you are meant to stand with them, to walk beside them with sincerity, with humility, with a shared heartbeat. What I hope as I step forward each day is to be worthy of that call, to let my actions speak more than my words, to let my service be a sign of gratitude for the privilege of being part of this legacy. The legacy is not mine, it belongs to Spain, to its people. I am but a small vessel through which it continues its journey, evolving, breathing, inspiring, and as I move on in life, I do not carry that alone. My sister walks with me, our generation rises with us, and together we inherit not only a path but a promise, to keep alive the spirit of service, of unity, of involvement. To let the light of our shared identity shine in the world, bright not because of heritage alone, but because of the hearts that continue to keep it alive. In the end, legacy and duty are not just words etched in protocol or tradition. They are living, unfolding parts of what we give and receive, rooted in what came before, blossoming in what is yet to come. And if I may be honest, I feel grateful, not only for the honor of being called to this life, but for the chance to walk this path with so many who love, who trust, who believe. That is the true gift of a legacy, not that it elevates one person, but that it connects many. And that is the true spirit of duty, not that it restricts, but that it reminds us always to serve with grace, with patience, and with deep, enduring love. There is a bond that exists before words are learned, before roles are understood, before paths are distinguished. A bond that lives in shared laughter, in mirrored steps, in whispered secrets, spoken in the quiet corners of childhood. That bond is sisterhood. And for me, it has never been just a relationship of blood. It has been a shared journey of discovering purpose side by side with someone who has always been more than a companion, someone who has been a reflection, a mirror of growth, and at times a guiding light of her own. From our earliest days, my sister and I formed a world of our own, small yet vast in meaning. We played, we learned, we quarreled, we understood, and in doing so we built a language not always spoken, but always known. We found in each other the kind of familiarity that is both effortless and profound, made not of sameness, but of shared wonder and promise. That is the essence of sisterhood, not competition, not comparison, but coexistence, two souls walking the same stretch of earth, each with her own light, but both shining brighter together. As we grew older, the innocence of our shared childhood gradually revealed the depth of the world around us, the responsibilities unfolding, the expectations quietly attached, the eyes of a nation gently turning in our direction. And with this came questions, unspoken but felt. How does one proceed in such a role? How does one remain true to oneself while embracing a purpose that feels larger than any single life? In those moments of uncertainty, I have found reassurance simply in knowing that I do not walk this path alone, that there is someone beside me who understands not because she has read about it, but because she lives it too, her heart learning the same lessons, her spirit reaching toward the same horizon. To share a role is not to divide it, but to deepen it. I have learned through my bond with her that purpose is more powerful when it is shared. It becomes not a burden, but a partnership. When we stand together, we are reminded that identity is not dissolved in unity, but rather supported by it. We can be distinct in our personalities, in our ways of expressing ourselves, and yet be completely united in intention. That is the beauty of a shared purpose. It allows us to be wholly ourselves, while still being wholly together in what matters most. Perhaps the greatest gift of sisterhood is the silent understanding that exists beyond the surface of our lives. We know when the other needs encouragement. We know when words are necessary, and when presence is enough. We know that a single shared glance can say what 1,000 spoken lines cannot. And, most importantly, we know that even as the world around us grows more complex, this constant between us remains simple. She is my sister, my equal, my friend. As we stand at the threshold of greater responsibilities, I find strength in the way our paths are intertwined. Yes, we each have our individual steps to take, but those steps are harmonized in direction. We learn from each other, not just from our achievements, but from our hesitations, our questions, our silent moments of reflection. We remind each other what it means to move forward with grace, to stay anchored in values, to hold onto a kind of calm that can only be born from mutual trust. And this shared purpose is not silent or inward looking. It is lived in action. In every place we visit together, we see the same smiles and hopes reflected back at us. We are reminded that our journey is not just for ourselves, but for the countless people whose lives will, in ways large or small, be touched by the way we show up in the world. In that light, sisterhood becomes a symbol, not of identity alone, but of unity. It becomes an example to other young people, especially young women, that leadership does not have to stand in isolation, that ambition does not weaken by making space for another, that shared dreams are not halved in value, but doubled in possibility. There are moments in life that feel both personal and universal all at once. Standing beside her in those moments, I feel both grounded and uplifted, grounded in the memories of our shared beginnings, our childhood games, our quiet learning, our combined steps into the public world, and uplifted by the knowledge that the future, though unknown, is a place we will face together, not because it is expected, but because it is natural, because it is us. I have often been asked what it means to grow up with such a role, to transition from a young girl into someone expected to embody symbols of continuity, tradition, service. The answer, for me, is bound with my sister. It means that I have never been alone in this transition, that I have always had someone who sees beyond the role, who remembers who I am at my core, and who walks beside me without envy or distance. And I hope she feels the same, that she finds in me not a shadow, not a challenge, but a companion forever ready to listen, to support, to share the weight and the wonder. In our shared glances, our shared silences, our shared laughter, I am reminded of who we are beyond titles, beyond public lives. We are sisters. We are two people learning, growing, and preparing for our futures, not just for ourselves, but for those we serve. And in that shared mission, there is a kind of magic, quiet, steady, and very real. Let this be not only our story, but a reminder to all that strength rarely blooms in isolation. It blooms where connection lives, where trust is present, where hearts move in the same direction, where two voices can speak differently yet echo the same truth. Purpose is a powerful thing, but shared purpose, rooted in love, in mutual respect, in friendship, has the power not just to guide two lives, but to inspire many more. So we walk forward, together, as sisters, as individuals, as young women with a place in history yet to be fully written. We walk not just for ourselves, but for what we represent, hope, continuity, unity, and though our steps may sometimes differ, our direction remains the same. Onward side by side, with purpose shared, with hearts aligned, with the quiet strength of sisterhood lighting the way. Hope is more than an emotion, it is a force that sustains. It is the light that flickers even in moments of uncertainty, reminding us that the future is not written by chance, but by choice, and in that truth, hope becomes both a gift and a responsibility. It calls us to look beyond what is and imagine what could be. It invites us to trust in something beyond ourselves, something shared, something enduring. From a young age, I have learned that hope does not live in silence or in stillness. It takes shape through action. It is strengthened through commitment, and it connects us through unity. These values, hope, commitment, unity, do not just guide me personally. They form the very spirit of the role I have inherited and the legacy I am entrusted to help continue. Commitment isn't merely declared, it is lived. It is found in every promise kept, in every effort made, even when invisible to the world. It asks us to be faithful, not just in moments of celebration, but especially in moments of doubt. Because doubt will always come, it is natural to question, to pause, to wonder whether the path ahead is the right one. But in those moments, commitment gives us the strength to press forward, to honor not only the promises we've made to others, but also the commitments we have made to ourselves. For me, commitment means rising every day intent on learning something new. It means absorbing the lessons that history offers and translating them into actions that reflect today's realities. It means showing up not because it is expected, but because it is right. And even when the world's pace quickens and its attention becomes fragmented, true commitment remains steady. It is not rushed by the noise around. It moves with purpose, with clarity. Unity is the field where these efforts take shape. Unity isn't sameness, it is harmony in diversity. It is the ability to walk together despite differences, to share space, to share dreams, to share the weight of our challenges and the joy of our victories. I see this especially in the everyday lives of the people I meet. Teachers who inspire thousands of young minds, farmers tending the land that feeds generations, artists who bring color and truth into every corner of our culture. All of them, in their own ways, embody the unity that strengthens us as a nation, a unity not confined to a single idea, but built out of mutual respect, an acknowledgement that every voice matters, every story contributes to a greater whole. It is in unity that hope is amplified. When we come together, not in uniformity, but in a shared vision, we become capable of things unimaginable alone. That is what gives me faith in the future, not just in what I will carry, but in how we will carry it together. Because a role like this life I am growing into, is not an isolated one. It is a bridge between past and future, and it must be walked with others, you, all of you. Perhaps the most humbling part of this journey so far has been realizing how deeply people believe in one another, how much potential lies in shared effort, how much beauty is created when we gather around a goal not for recognition, but for progress. I know that I am far from knowing all that I need to know. I still have much to learn, much to experience, much to grow into. But I also know that I do not learn alone. Every encounter shapes my understanding, every story shared guides my steps. And in turn, I hope to be a small source of belief for others, to reassure them that their voices matter, that their work matters, that unity does not erase individuality. It elevates it. When I look to the horizon of my life, I see challenges. I see uncertainty, but I also see possibility. I see a country whose strength lies not only in its traditions, but in its people, steadfast, creative, resilient. I see a generation rising with ideas that will reshape the world we know. And I see how, through listening, through dedication, through unwavering belief, we can build something that honors our past while pressing boldly into the future. The true measure of hope is not whether it feels easy, but whether it ignites something worth pursuing even when the path is unclear. And I choose to keep that fire alive, not just for myself, but for all of us, to stand not only for what I have inherited, but for what I believe we can create together. Let us remember that hope becomes powerful when we commit to it, and commitment becomes meaningful when we share it. Let us continue to seek unity not by erasing differences, but by embracing them with courage. Let us strive for a tomorrow that reflects the best of who we are today and the promise of who we can be. Because no matter what form our journeys take, no matter where our stories begin, we all walk under the same sky.